A very good afternoon. You're watching Lunchtime News coming to you live and direct from our News First studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news this afternoon, I'm Mariam Ganamichaya. Before we head on to our stories in detail, here's a look at your top stories for this afternoon.
Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy to summon heads of Department of Economics across all universities. Met Department warns that Sri Lanka will not receive sufficient rainfall until October. Ambilipitia farmer Satyagraha enters 10th day. Measles vaccine administered to inmates at the Vaunia prisons. Second leg of the LOLC Divisavya program commences from Ragama. Indian politician slaps himself with slipper for failing to fulfill promises. Trump faces criminal charges for efforts to overturn 2020.
On to your lead story this afternoon. The Met Department predicts that Sri Lanka will not experience sufficient rainfall until October. Against such a backdrop, the country's farming community is experiencing a crisis due to the insufficient water for their paddy cultivations.
Which parts of Sri Lanka are the most affected?
The Met Department said that the northern, central and eastern provinces have been mostly affected by the prevailing weather conditions. During the past 24-hour window, the Bulletin district recorded a temperature of 37.1 degrees Celsius.
How have the reservoirs been affected?
Director of Water Management of the Department of Irrigation, Sudarshani Vidanapatirana, said the water levels at the reservoirs have dropped to 33.3% of its capacity. Deputy Director General of the Mahavali Authority of Sri Lanka, Nilantha Dhanapala, said the water levels at the Mahavali Reservoir had dropped to 37%.
Will there be disruptions to hydropower generation?
Hydropower generation has reduced to 16% of the total power generation. The Ceylon Electricity Board said the water levels in the reservoirs associated with power plants have also reduced to 20%. Accordingly, 64% of the daily power generation is being obtained from coal and thermal power plants. 5% of solar power and 6% of wind power are added to the national grid daily. The CEB said, however, the electricity demand in Sri Lanka has increased to 48 gigawatt hours.
What are the reasons behind Sri Lanka's dry weather conditions?
The Met Department said the southwest monsoon did not bring sufficient rain this year due to the El Nino effect. El Nino is a climate pattern that describes the unusual warming of surface waters in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean.
When can Sri Lanka expect showers?
The Met Department said there will not be sufficient rainfall until October. An atmosphere suitable for heavy showers can be expected after the month of October.
Wednesday, the 2nd of August, was the final day to release water for the paddy farmers in the Walava zone. However, an issue surrounds the release of water for some 65,000 acres of rice fields in the Walava zone. On Monday, the Sri Lankan Cabinet of Ministers granted their approval to ensure continuous supply of electricity instead of releasing water for the rice fields. However, more than 30,000 families that depend on agriculture are facing serious issues. Wednesday marks 10 days since the farmers from Ambilipitia launched a Satyagraha campaign demanding water for their rice fields. They stressed that they would not abandon their cause until their demands are met.
We informed the rulers that the water was not sufficient for the cultivation. If water is released from the Samanala Vava to the Udavalava reservoir, we will be able to protect our fields. However, these paddy fields are being destroyed. We urge the authorities to help us protect what is left.
As water is not being released from the Samanala Vava to the Udavalava reservoir, around 60 paddy lands are likely to be destroyed. The agriculture community in Valioya decided to release water from the local waterway to the rice fields that are nurtured by the water released from the Udavalava reservoir that are at the brink of destruction.
Engineer Nilantha Dhanapala, the Deputy Director General of the Sri Lanka Mahavali Authority, speaking on Negative Sri Lanka program, said if water is provided, at least 60% of the rice fields can be saved.
The CEB would be able to generate around 1 billion. If the CEB had to purchase power at 4 times the cost, it would be around 4 billion. However, from the rice cultivation point of view, we will lose 17 billion. This is the best period for banana cultivation. I believe that given the situation, the loss would be around 30 billion rupees. We as state sector employees get a salary. However, the farmers depend on agriculture. I cannot speak on 100% of this. I do not think we can protect upper areas. If a positive decision is reached, we can at least save around 60% of the rice fields.
උඩ තියෙන ටික මං හිතන්නේ ගොඩ දා ගන්න පුළුවන්. 160ක්වත් බේර ගන්න පුළුවන් අපිට ඉක්මනට හොඳ තීරණයක් දුන්නොත්.
The All Ceylon Agrarian Federation also commented on the current situation.
After a few more days, the water cannot be released. At present, over 1,000 acre-feet of water is released for the paddy fields. A small amount of water comes to the reservoir, that is the water that is released when electricity is generated from the Samanalavawa reservoir. A large number of crops have been destroyed. These fields are dying when there is water already here, not due to the absence of water. We should tell the Power and Energy Minister Kanchana too, if water is given from Samanalavawa, there will be no electricity nor paddy. How does this happen? Electricity cannot be generated after the water levels go down. Now there are about 5 meters left. After that amount too goes down, it won't be possible to generate electricity. With this situation, even power cuts are possible in the future.
Minister of State Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, while expressing his views on the 4-hour power cut at a program held in Bandaravali yesterday, pointed out that Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara is protesting against the release of water to farmers for getting about 120 megawatts.
Rice fields in the area dried up due to the Uma Oil project. We endure the suffering from that. The minister says he will not be able to provide electricity for the southern province. We have 120 megawatts right here. If this 120 megawatts was obtained to the grid, the water from the Samanalavawa can be released to the farmers. Construction of this project is complete, but it is not open. I have been raising this issue for months. This 120 megawatts will be crucial during arid weather periods.
Owing to the lack of proper water supply, many paddy fields in Alavawa division of Mahaveli B zone are at risk of destruction. The amount of paddy land cultivated under the Maduru Oya reservoir is over 1,250 acres. Farmers allege that they don't get the required irrigation water when the crops are growing. Farmers are demanding water to be released from Maduru Oya. When contacted over the issue, the manager of the Alavawa division of the Mahaveli B zone said that measures will be taken to release water for the rice fields. The farmers, however, demand that a solution be provided before it is too late.
Many problems like the agriculture crisis have not been given a solution due to the lack of proper management. The human-elephant conflict is one such issue, and Polonnaruwa is just one district that faces the threat from encroaching wild elephants. People living in the remote Sri Lankan villages of Kumudapura, Vijayapura and Nagarapura in the Polonnaruwa district live in fear due to the threat of encroaching wild elephants. They point out that the wild elephants from the Somawatiya Forest Reserve roam into their village. On Tuesday night, a herd entered the villages and damaged a house and destroyed the only remaining paddy sack in the premises. Wild elephants also destroyed many crops in the village. This is not an issue that arose overnight. Are the people at fault for this crisis? Millions were allocated for the construction of elephant fences and trenches. However, what has happened to them? While various parties announced that there are issues related to Sri Lanka's food security, a problematic situation has also arisen in relation to eggs and chicken, which are the main sources of protein for people. The government that gave the opportunity to import eggs to Sri Lanka to control the prices of eggs is now preparing to import chicken as well. At a press conference convened in Kurunegala, the Organisation for the Protection of Poultry Farmers responded to the government's decision.
The government is trying to control the chicken prices by importing it and not by reducing the production cost. They are trying to control the prices by inconveniencing the farmer. Egg production has collapsed. They are going to do the same thing for the meat. They are dancing to the tune of the Indians. Not only are they dancing, they are also taking commissions from it.
News first with the people.
Be the first to know about the biggest stories as they break. Subscribe to News First English News Alerts. News First, your trusted English news channel.
In other news making headlines this afternoon, the Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government has decided to summon all the heads of the Department of Economics across all universities. Chairman of the Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government, Attorney-at-Law Sagar Karyavasam, speaking to News First, said that the meeting with the heads of the Department of Economics across all universities was called for to prepare a roadmap for the committee and for consultations. He said it was vital to obtain the views of experts to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy declared by the government. The Select Committee of Parliament to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy was appointed on the 6th of July 2023. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna appointed 8 members to the Select Committee. The opposition appointed 5 members to the Select Committee earlier. However, they did not attend the committee sessions.
Chief Executive of the Samgijana Balawege, Ajit Pereira, said that the current leaders are directly responsible for the bankruptcy of the country.
Wickramasinghe has succeeded in appointing the leaders of Pohottuwa who are responsible for the destruction of this country, the leaders who destroy the fertilizer, the leaders who destroy this country through theft and corruption, the leaders who destroy the tax revenue of this country, and those who brought this country's economy to zero. Citizens are inconvenienced by the loss of their income and jobs, and the increasing prices of goods as well. But now Pohottuwa is getting ready to kick out Wickramasinghe and to deceive the public again.
President Ranil Wickramasinghe has issued a special Gazette notification moving 2 government institutes under the purview of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilization and National Policies.
Accordingly, Sahasya Investment Limited and the National Equipment and Machinery Organisation were moved under the purview of the Ministry. Sahasya Investment Limited was earlier under the Ministry of Transport and Highways. The National Equipment and Machinery Organisation was previously under the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing.
The epidemiology unit says all inmates at the Vaunia prison who had not received the measles vaccine were vaccinated. The unit says all necessary instructions have been given to control the spread of measles within the prison premises.
The Vaunia prison was temporarily closed after 4 inmates were diagnosed with measles. Prison spokesperson and Administrative Commissioner Chandan Ekanayaka said that inmates are not allowed to meet with relatives and visitation opportunities have been temporarily suspended. The taking of detainees to courts for legal proceedings has also been temporarily stopped. The number of inmates in Vaunia prison is over 400.
He who opens a school door closes a prison is a famous saying that is accepted across the world. It is considered a national service to provide facilities for school children to pursue their education. Keeping them in mind, the second leg of the LOLC Divi Savya program got underway on Wednesday at the St. Lazarus College in Ragama.
Divi Savya is a program that is organized to empower the students with much-needed education material to prepare them for the future. The Divi Savya program, organized by LOLC Holdings, will distribute school books and stationery material to all students. The Divi Savya program, organized by LOLC Holdings, will distribute school books and stationery material to all students, and it is supported by the Ministry of Education. The launch of the second leg of this program took place at St. Lazarus College, Ragama, under the auspices of Education Minister Susil Premajantha. School students were also given an opportunity to showcase their talents during the launch event.
I estimate that this program has reached around 100,000 children in the school system. LOLC has allocated rupees 1.5 billion for this purpose. I pray that Ishara Naranakara and LOLC will be able to contribute even more for the next program. A large number of children do not have school books and stationery items. This bag contains everything they need. We select the most vulnerable groups in society and provide this to them.
At a time when the prices of school stationery items are at unbearable levels, such contributions to a family with several children will be a relief for them. It is indeed a positive sign that school school books, stationery, uniforms and meals are provided free of charge for the people even during this crisis period. I thank LOLC for focusing their attention to groups like us.
If school education is not given properly, future of the children and the country will be lost. LOLC, as a locally born company and a company that employs people who were educated by the country's education system, decided to support the children of the country in this manner. This comes from the idea of Ishara Nanayakara, the deputy chairman of the group. A large amount of money is allocated to support the children.
On Wednesday, the LOLC Divisavya program will take place centering the Kalani and Nigambo education zones in the Gampaha district. School books and stationery items will be provided free of charge to students at 25 schools with less than 100 students for a period of 1 year. The Divisavya program will continue to move forward, ensuring that school students are not left behind.
The 25th World Scout Jamboree will take place in South Korea on Wednesday.
News First Yasarat Kamal Siri, a special delegate for the Scout Jamboree in South Korea, said the opening ceremony of the 25th World Scout Jamboree is expected to commence later on Wednesday. He said the South Korean government had provided special security, including aerial security, for the event. He added that the South Korean president will grace the opening ceremony of the 25th World Scout Jamboree. However, the official announcement is yet to be made. He noted that scouts from over 100 countries have started to set up their tents and camps at the site of the 25th World Scout Jamboree.
U.S. media reported that former U.S. President Donald Trump was indicted on Tuesday by a federal grand jury on 4 criminal charges of attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. He has denied the charges and is expected to appear in federal district court in Washington, D.C. on Thursday.
The charges include conspiracy against the rights of citizens, conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, and obstruction of an official proceeding. The court document also describes conspiracy to impair, obstruct, and defeat the federal government function through dishonesty, fraud, and deceit. 6 other unnamed persons were also charged, including 4 lawyers, a Justice Department official, and a political consultant. The charges were brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith, who is investigating a mob attack on the U.S. Parliament on January 6, 2021 in an attempt to prevent the Vice President from officially certifying the election result. Trump is already facing 40 federal felony charges in connection with mishandling classified government documents that he allegedly illegally kept in his possession after leaving the presidency. The trial is set to commence in May 2024. U.S. media reported the state of Georgia is likely to indict him on criminal charges of attempting to overturn the result in Georgia of the last presidential election. Georgia was a key state that he lost, ensuring his defeat in the election to present President Joe Biden. He also has been charged by state authorities in the state of New York with 34 counts relating to mishandling election campaign funds, with allegations that he used the funds to pay hush money to an adult film actress that he had a relationship with prior to becoming president. That trial is scheduled for March 2024. Trump is a candidate for the next presidential election scheduled to be held in November 2024. Under U.S. law, he cannot be disqualified from running even if he is convicted, and also cannot be prevented from carrying out the functions of the presidency if he were to win.
In the meantime, the U.S. government's credit rating has been downgraded following concerns over the state of the country's finances and its debt burden. Fitch, one of the 3 major independent agencies that assess creditworthiness, downgraded it from the top rating of AAA to AA+. Fitch said it had noted a steady deterioration in governance over the last 20 years. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called the downgrade arbitrary. She said it was based on outdated data from the period 2018 to 2020. Investors use credit ratings as a benchmark for judging how risky it is to lend money to a government. The U.S. is usually considered a highly secure investment because of the size and relative stability of the economy. In news from neighbouring India, an Andhra Pradesh councillor has slapped himself with a slipper at a meeting for failing to fulfill the promises he made to his voters.
A councillor in Anakapalli district in India's Andhra Pradesh slapped himself with a slip on Monday for failing to fulfill the promises he made to his voters. Mulaparthi Ramaraj, councillor for Narsipatnam municipality, vented his frustration during the council meeting. A video of this act has gone viral. Ramaraju told media, explaining the reason for slapping himself, quote, "It has been 31 months since I have been elected as a councillor, but I am unable to solve civic issues like drainage, power, sanitation, roads and other problems in my ward," end quote. The 40-year-old councillor, who ekes out a living by driving an auto rickshaw, said he tried all options but could not keep up the promises made to voters. He alleged that the local municipal officials completely ignored Ward 20 of the Narsipatnam municipality and he could not even get a water connection to any of his voters. Ramaraju said it was better to die in the council meeting for not being able to fulfill the promises, as his voters were demanding him to execute the unfulfilled civic works.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a very great day.